Everybody, Larry Bailey here with Awesome Technologies Inc. We're live at the Lenders One Mortgage Cooperative at the L1 Summit. So my back's to this wall because every place else is very noisy and you do not want background noise because that's annoying. Nice jacket. Thank you very much, Chris. I even have a nice little badge here. So for those that are here live, thank you very much. We meet every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. It's 1 o'clock Pacific, which is where I am right now because I'm out in LA. I just missed the Lakers game to watch in person, 40,000 points, but I'm not a basketball fan. So kudos to anybody who is and celebrating that win. For getting 40,000, I can't even imagine scoring 40,000 points over a lifetime. I can imagine writing 40,000 business rules, so there's that. But we get together as a community. Thanks for those that are rolling in. Again, I apologize if there's any background noise or might be some stuff coming through. Hopefully it's not bad. Let me know if my audio is okay, not okay. I'm in as quiet of a spot as possible. But basically, we want to get together, answer questions. I want to share with you what's. Thanks, Katie. Hey, Michael. I thought you were Michael. Michael Kelleher. I thought you were supposed to be out here today. So I want to go over what's been talking about. So Awesome Tech is part of Lenders One as a provider. I really knew nothing about Lenders One recently. Last time I talked to Lenders One was probably a long, long time ago. I feel like it was 20 years ago, but it might have been more recently. And the only thing I knew Lenders One was good for was collaborating on warehouse lines. It is a far different organization. Just shout out to the organization. They are doing a promo now where there's no application fee for the first year or 2 years, something like that. Anyway, if you want more information, if your company's not part of Lenders One, you're missing out on some good opportunities because there are member discounts. Things like for credit, things like for insurance is coming out. Also, they're announced yesterday in the big forum that they are putting together a synthetic way to get to Ginnie Mae securitization. So, as an organization, if you're not a Fannie Freddie servicer or you don't really qualify yourself in a Ginnie servicer application, Lenders One might be a way for you to go. And their location for next year's summit is Cancun, Mexico. So if that's something you're interested in, that would be the place to go. So apologize again for the background noise. Like 10 minutes ago, this is a quiet spot. So I guess not anymore. Anyway, I did want to talk to you about the information, the topics. So what happens is basically on Monday, which was yesterday, there's a haul. So thanks, Mike. Appreciate the feedback. So we get together. There's, I don't know, maybe 30 providers in the hall. And the way Lenders One works is they do one provider per category. So our category is Encompass System Admin Services. Lender Toolkit's in there. Matchbox is in there too, but they focus on different parts. And the reason why I'm bringing this up for the community today is, number one, to make you aware of some of the important topics that I've been listening to and hearing about. I think this is an important thing for you to know about as far as the topics. I also want to talk about, Lenders One. I want you to check it out because I do believe in the organization. I believe it's worth a look. And then lastly, of course, getting ready for the ICE Summit in 2 weeks. I want to talk about that and how all of this dovetails together. Fair enough? Before we get going, before we get deep into it, if anybody has any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll kind of get into the topics that I want to talk about. So I'm watching the chat. I'm on a 14-inch ThinkPad here. So if I'm going to try and pay attention to it, I'm not doing a screen share. It's just kind of me talking. If you want to ask a question, I know there's a bunch of questions through the community this week, which is fantastic. Thank you for posting those. And thanks to everybody also for really pitching in on answering them. I am not a coder, right? So the things I think that might work can probably be corrected by somebody else who actually knows how to write some back-end code. That's why I joined up with ATI, because these guys know how to program stuff. All right. So first of all, let's talk about economies. So we had a great presentation today yesterday from I got a gentleman named Bob who really, I don't know what he does besides travel, but he goes to different places and he's down in Washington advocating for our industry consistently. And one of the things that is coming up as a mortgage banker are some liquidity requirements. So that's something that if you're in that market, I'm sure you're already aware of. But I wanted to bring it up because as we're all in this community, as we're all part of the mortgage industry, you need to be aware of what's happening, even if it's not necessarily in your lane. So in this particular case, this is really going to affect, mid-sized mortgage lenders in a significant way. So if you want to find more out about it because you're involved, you're either involved in secondary or you're involved in your fiscal your fiscalness of your organization, make sure you're on top of that. Also yesterday, coincidentally, or this week, maybe it wasn't yesterday, but very recently it was announced about the changes to credit score, going to the two-bureau model. Of course, the credit repositories got ahead of this by jacking everybody's prices up for reasons that nobody really knows besides the oligarchy status that those companies maintain. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because there's a company called FICO something or other, and I'm sorry I don't have their name, but they have a product that is actually being used by organizations. It's a T10. Kelleher, you know what I'm talking about? Maybe you can fill in the void here. But it's a company that basically provides for an alternative methodology to establish risk on a file when it comes to credit. The reason why this is important is because there's two companies that are taking two mortgage-backed securities to market with this model being used. It's the very first time. Why is this important? It's important because it brings another player to the market besides the big three credit bureaus that we've always had in a way to interpret risk into a file. Now, naturally, these are, this other model is not recognized by GSEs, so you can't really use it for Fannie Freddie stuff. But it is another way that our industry is trying to figure out ways to keep us moving forward and not always do things the way that we've always done them. So that's something else that happened yesterday. Today's economists who spoke, and this I thought was really interesting. So their prediction is rate cuts July. That was what I heard this morning. That's where they think the first rate cuts are going to happen. The expectation is that the economics that are going to come in are going to continue to be worse. And you might see this in your area, you might see this with your clients, but quit rates are down, meaning people aren't leaving the jobs that they have. Unemployment rate continues to hold steady, but first time filers are increasing, and people with continuing claims are increasing. We're also seeing on the real estate side the out of the million units of housing that are under construction for apartments, about 600,000. I learned this today. About 600,000 or 700,000 of those are in concentrated areas. But even the million units are only localized to about 12 major market areas. So why is this important? This is important because housing coming online is a supply issue. We don't have a demand issue. We've got a supply issue. And if people are able to find apartments, that might mean that housing frees up, which means that people can buy houses, and that maybe we can get back on track with some decent uptick. The projections are, when you look at the slides, I don't have possession of. I don't know if I'm going to get them as a provider, but if you're a Lenders One member, you can get them and maybe share them with the community. But it basically displayed a graph that shows out to 2024, 5, and 6 as a great trend in a good direction, the better direction. The reason why this is important is because this ties into what I've been hearing all day, yesterday in the convention hall and then today in some of the breakout sessions, which is companies have, and tell me if this is true in yourself, but companies have been able to figure out how to do more with less, meaning companies either did reduction in forces, so laid some people off, or chose to not hire people when they normally might. And so what they've been tracking, these economists they've been tracking is number of closed loans per FTE. And at the height, so back in the surge, they were about three loans per FTE in the survey. This survey was done through the economic group plus Stratmore. So it's a survey that gets filled out. And what you'll want to do is look at what we were in 2022, which was 0.9. So basically, we were overstaffed. We had excess capacity in the workflow of your company, and you might have seen that too, which could have led to either people trying to push for more volume to get people busier, or continued layoffs, depending on your company, to get that balance, to get that production versus personnel balance in line. The survey had for 2023 had it from 0.9 in 22 to about 1.3. 1.09 in 2023. The goal is to get to 1.3. So that's the average. And I want you to think about this in your organization, because every full-time employee, that means somebody who is there to manage the office space, or an IT person, or somebody who's running spreadsheet reports all day, or somebody who's selling, or somebody who's processing, like everybody in accounting, everybody in executive management, everybody in middle management. And the reason why this is important for me, because I've been watching people really talk about the cost per closed loan just skyrocket, really since 2017 into 2018, even in that surge where we were over 4 trillion in market, and now we're half of that, and we're on our way back up. My point for bringing this up is everybody's talking about automation, right? And you're probably talking about it yourself in your own company. You're like, what should we do? Where should we automate? And a lot of these catchphrases that you've been seeing all around are like AI, right? So AI underwriting, or AI this, or robot that, right? So APIs, SDKs, and RPAs. So RPA, if you've never been exposed to that, is robotic process automation. It's a piece of software that moves the mouse around like a human would. Those things are extraordinarily delicate, meaning that if anything changes, the RPA breaks. And anything could change at all times, right? We see Encompass always changing. The data could change, and that means that the robot has to be reprogrammed. And development is extraordinarily expensive for most companies. So for those that know Matt Van Fossen, who runs Absolute Home Mortgage in New Jersey, you also know him from the big POS. So he was on a panel this morning, and when we were talking about reviewing your tech stack, one of the things that he brought up, and Elena Gardner and I talked about this in the recorded discussions, which you can go back and listen to from a couple of weeks ago, or last week at least. We talked about how to review technology for your company. And Matt talked about how when he looked at his own organization, he had 4 platforms doing texting. He had 3 platforms doing, or whatever the number was. He had multiple platforms doing pre-qual letters, multiple platforms sending out notifications to borrowers. And was the other POS guy here? I'm like, I didn't see him. If he was here, I didn't see him. He could have been there. Could have been at the booth yesterday. I was busy talking to folks at my spot. In any event, what I'm trying to drive home here is, if you haven't done your own tech review of what is doing which part in your workflow, you're missing out. And companies will actually hire ATI to do a workflow review. We'll actually do a technology review, and we'll get to the bottoms of these questions for you. If you don't have the time or the resources, it's extraordinarily inexpensive. And the value for that is immeasurable. And the reason why I say that is because when you walked around, it's called Connection Hall. When you walked around Connection Hall yesterday, again, the goal for Lenders One is 1 provider per category. And the reason why they do that is to make sure that they give some kind of vetting. Now, juxtapose that against ICE, right? We're going to be, for those that are going to the ICE conference, we'll all be there. I'm at booth 520. And, you're going to see all the other players there that, we all kind of fit in the same space. And as a participant, As an attendee of these conferences, your head can spin. So it's like, how do you know what to do? How do you know where to turn? The first turn is inward. So if you need any help, like just understanding how to organize the workflow and what to do and where to go, my first step for you is make sure you get something to document. Yeah, booth 520, Mike. Thanks. Use something to document. Now, I use Basecamp for project management. This isn't necessarily a project per se to document things. You can use Excel, for God's sake. But you can start in your IT team to see who has, what's been installed. And that's a good start. But honestly, go to your accounting team and sit down with your accounting folks and ask them for the expense accounts for how much is being paid to which provider and when. And then go line that up with your contracts. And I'll share something with you. So I had a great meeting with a company. If I said the name, you'd all know it. One of their leaders is very, very popular on LinkedIn. And I met with one of their teams in the marketing department who was here. Now they have to manage. We had a really great conversation about our Bullseye platform from ATI because of how it can ingest factually unlimited data from unlimited sources and bring them in. So we've talked about this before. And the reason why they got out of Power BI, sorry, Jody, the reason why they got out of Power BI, they actually canceled the license, which I was happy to hear because nobody was using it. They had this thing for 3 years and nobody was using it. And so the way the conversation went was they were looking for something. So the head person goes out on conferences like this one, comes back and says, hey, Susie, hey, Johnny, I found this shiny object. I want you to implement it. They never did any due diligence for what the thing did, the shiny object, what it would replace, why they need it. And that was what was really impactful in the panel that Matt Van Fossen was in, Frank Fiore from Matchbox was in there too, and a gentleman from a credit union, Michigan First Credit Union. So it was all about, hey, listen, we'd love to implement something. We'd love to clean up, whatever pain that you're in, but let's evaluate what you have first. And that's really what I kept hearing over and over and over from different people as I have conversations here at the summit, which is people wanted Dan Sugg. Thank you, Mike. Mike, you're awesome. Dan's great. Dan's phenomenal. I had a good chance to have a solid conversation with him. But yeah, it was Dan. In any event, where I'm leading you is that you really want to figure out what you have and what it's doing and who's using it or not using it to its fullest extent before you go try something else. And I'll pick on a POS that everybody uses. Not everybody. A lot of people use Simple Nexus, right? So when I talk to folks and I'm like, hey, you're using Consumer Connect, and they're like, no, I use Simple Nexus. I'm like, all right, well, Consumer Connect's not a POS, first of all. Never was proclaimed to be, but somehow I got this badge of distinction. Or they like, oh, we use Blend. And I'm like, okay, why do you need anything else? How many people are using this? What's your efficacy? And I go on because Simple Nexus isn't cheap. Blend isn't cheap. Even big POS, it's not inexpensive, but it's not free. It costs money. And so what the person I met with in the marketing team, they've got 80 different vendors in their organization. 80. And her responsibility is to gather all the information from all these vendors and compile it into some type of response to see if what they're doing is actually working. And invariably, anytime a new vendor has said that they have to have it, their attitude is they don't like to say no, but they also want to make sure that they're not buying something they already have. And that's kind of my thing leading into the ICE conference. If we have a chance to meet, which I hope we do, the first question I'm going to ask is, why aren't we a good fit? Right? I want you to actually, if you're ever meeting with somebody, like, why aren't they a good fit for you? What is it that they offer that you don't need? Like, I would start there. A lot of times everybody starts with, what can we do for you? I like to reverse it and say, what's not a good fit? Because if the only thing you want to do is not a good fit, let's shake hands and you can go spend your time somewhere else. Believe me, I'll appreciate it. But if we find out that the thing that you don't want is nothing I provide, great, let's keep talking. And that was really helpful here at the conference, because Lenders One takes the time to make sure that they focus in the providers that are bringing value to the members. Again, it's a cooperative, right? So everybody literally owns a share of stock in, it's not Lenders One, but whatever the company is. And everybody's got a vested interest in making sure that the members are getting the services from the providers, number one, at a discount than what they would get directly. And then number two, that it's a collaborative lift. It's a collaborative lift. And so I feel like it's a different kind of event here. And, it's kind of, if I could like recreate this in a microcosm of the regional events that I had the idea of doing last year in 2023 that never got off the ground, but I still like the idea of us getting together regionally. And so Amy and Katie, out in your area, out in your region, those are great. You guys get together in the, I know you guys are going to correct me, Nebraska. I'm always going to say Kansas because it's all the same, right? You're gonna yell at me now. I'm gonna get such hate mail. Anyway, but the idea, I know. Just Perry. Isn't it all flat? Isn't it all the same? Anyway, I'm gonna get such hate mail. Just corn and cows, right, Amy? But get together as a regional thing. I want to really take the community. We're constantly bringing in more people that are not just admins. Listen, what I created for the admin portal, which was Basecamp, we converted. It was a great thing at the time, and I still think it's a valuable resource. I know a lot of you go there for resources, which is phenomenal. I think that's great. I'm very proud of that. But I also know that as an organization, as a community, we have so much more to talk about than just Encompass admin. God forbid your company decides to leave Encompass. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? For those of you that are in that conversation, like seriously, if you ever want to talk about Meridian Link, or you want to talk about Byte, or Lending Pad, or any of the other platforms out there, you're going to go to LinkedIn, Katie. Good luck. Let me know. Like I spend time with these platforms. I'm going through admin training on Byte right now, and we're going to continue to expand ATI's presence in these other platforms. Encompass isn't going anywhere. It's just not everybody uses Encompass. And there's not, and if you think it's hard to find resources for Encompass, sometimes for training, it's even that much more when the pool of users is much less. So anyway, on that topic, training, I do want to give a shout out. We with the admins and users course that has opened up quite a bit, and we issued our first certification out. So if you are looking for a way to test your skills, and you want to have a training platform for your entire company, let me know. That's the reason why I built this. I've got a call later on today with a national provider for NMLS training, and I want to integrate Encompass training into their platform. We're in good conversations about making that happen, to deliver this content to more and more people, so that I can bring a better awareness of how to use Encompass in the best ways possible. And on that note, it's the 5th. We've got 4 more days until we get 24.1 dropped in test, as well as UAT for TPO. Hopefully you're on track with that. If anybody has any questions, I haven't checked the release notes, so I don't know if anything's been updated. Has anybody else checked the release notes recently to see if anything's been updated? If so, drop it in the chat. If not, you should go check it out. And I'll probably end up doing maybe one of these sessions as not next week, but probably, the next week after that will be the ICE conference. We'll probably talk about it at the wrap-up show. So, Katie, thanks very much for giving a shout out on LinkedIn for the wrap-up show. For those that are going to ICE, if you want to just stop by, that's okay. We are getting to capacity, truthfully. I have to do a head count. If you've not RSVP'd for the wrap-up show, please do. There is a room limit, and they will like not let you in the door. I got like a big bouncer rabbit at the door, and the rabbit won't let you in. So, just be careful of the rabbit. I don't know why I said rabbit, but there's no bouncer. But there is a limit. So I think the room holds about 25 people. So I don't want you getting there and then not being able to come in until somebody leaves. That would be awkward. Yeah, I'm looking forward to, Robert. So having, on the last part here for today's conversation, I would also encourage involvement. Again, I know like nobody has time for this, myself included, but make sure you're somehow getting information from extra resources about what's happening in industry. There's a lot that's going to be changing this year. There's a lot going on down at Capitol Hill with regards to regulations that are being talked about with trigger leads. Matt also talked about having to pay $150,000 for a single text that was not somebody help me, where you're not allowed to text somebody on the do not call list. I'm going to forget the acronym, but it's a huge deal. And so if you don't have proper opt-out language on any outbound texting, you're at risk. Just like if you don't have any proper opt-out language on your emails, you're at risk. So make sure you stay involved. Again, if you want to just keep your head down and just do Encompass, that's fine. I'm totally fine with it. But there's a lot happening this year. TCPA, thanks, Mike. See, Mike, you got to be like my co-host here, so you can keep me straight with this stuff. In any event, that's all I got. Hopefully this audio has been okay, acceptable. Does anybody have any questions about anything I've covered or anything happening in the community? Bob's got a question. He's typing and he's saying something or other. But yeah, that's all I got. So Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Mike did the research. They got MAP. They get MAP, but they can't get the people calling me every 2 seconds. You know why, Mike? Because the people calling you every 2 seconds are not in the United States, and they're using scam phones. Matt's story was horrible. Like, he did everything right. Like, Matt's stand-up. Like, he's total stand-up. He did everything right, and he still ended up having to pay this dude, who I'm sure was an attorney, because, why not? Rob says, I'd like to know if there are any websites that don't cost to read articles on the industry. Really hard to find, Rob. Honestly, everything's a paywall. Thank you, Internet. But I would tell you, what should you spend your money on? Mortgage News Daily. I'm going to get that wrong, but thank you. Mortgage News Daily. I got that right. Holy crap, I got that right. Mortgage News Daily, invest in. Hands down. If you're going to pay for anything, pay for that. 100%, Rob. Listen, not everything's free. I'm not free. You're not free. I don't know why they should be free. They got to pay the reporters. They got to get paid too. So definitely Mortgage News Daily is one of those. And then the other one that's really helpful is Jody's mostly free. All right, Jody. It is free? Oh, it's free. Okay. I thought it cost something. I'm out of touch. So Mortgage News Daily is free. There you go, Rob. Thank you, Brian. Another one that is worth its money if you want to follow it is the MBS Highway. I used to call it Mortgage Market Guide. That's how old I am. MBS Highway. I do those read-throughs. I actually have to do one today because it's overdue. I'm supposed to do it every Monday. But it's MBS Highway has a ton of information that happens throughout the day. And you might be able to get login creds to share with your secondary person if they have it. Market Watch wants money. I don't like Market Watch, Brian. Truthfully, it's not specifically our industry, but mbshighway.com, which is Mortgage Market, the old Mortgage Market Guide from Barry Habib, that dude. Brilliant stuff, great team, always on top of what's going on. And it makes you look good. Makes you look like you know what the hell you're talking about. So check that out. It is 30 minutes. That means we got to go. I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. I am going up to do a workflow review for one of our clients on Byte. if you're interested on how that goes, let me know. If you're interested on what Byte does, I'll let you know. And I'll see you here next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern. You guys have a great rest of your day. See you now. Bye. Thanks, Mike, for all the backup. Super awesome. Thank you, Mike. See you, Katie. Keep pumping me up out there. I appreciate it on LinkedIn. We'll see you, Katie. Bye-bye.